All right, Chris Carson of SteadiReadi. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks so much again, thanks so much for having me. This is awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So let's jump right into it. First, tell us, of course, who you are and what you've been up to, what you do for a living.
Yeah, so those of you out there that don't know me, obviously I love the color orange, but I run a live streaming video production company here based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and the punchline of what we do is it's back to Apple's old slogan of "Think different," right? We use iPhones and iPads to accomplish something new, something that really hasn't been done before with video and making it mobile, making it easy to access, making it quick, and most importantly to the clients, making it cost effective so they can get their message out really as often as they like.
And how talk to me a little bit about how SteadiReadi came to be. Did you? And I mentioned before we started recording, I've been kind of following your work for quite some time, and of course had a chance to check out your website and some of your previous work. And did you start out as just kind of a video production company, shooting, editing, producing, and live streaming came later? So tell me a little bit about the evolution of SteadiReadi and maybe of course how you guys kind of started.
Yeah, so Steady was born on the idea or my love of doing Steadicam. I grew up and started inside the video production movie industry as a Steadicam operator. And as I worked my way up through the ranks there, and um, I learned a lot about what I really love, and I learned a lot about what I don't really love. And along that journey, um, I had the same mentality that I do today, which was, there's more that we can do here. We can do it faster. We can do it smarter, more efficiently, yada yada. And I would often pose the question to people that I worked with on all levels, in the hierarchy for video production of what haven't you been able to do up to this point? What have you always wanted to do with video and telling stories? And what's interesting is that path led me into live streaming. I mean, like instantly. I shot a feature film with a local director, and the punchline was is he had this concept for a live streaming comedy. And of course, the question was, is how do we do it? Of course, with traditional video equipment, and as you see, over my shoulder, I've got my red there in the background, just chilling on a shelf. Um, that's my roots, right? With all the big fancy equipment. And now what's crazy is again, we now use these iPhones. It's unbelievable. But looking at what that led to is how can we do it efficiently, smart, quick, all of that, and that introduced me directly into one of the tools that exist out there, Switcher Studio. And of course that launched, I mean, that changed everything, of just like I remember the next 2 weeks after that discovery of Switcher and iPhones and iPads as cameras and everything else, like holy smokes, the whole world changed. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started in live streaming. But before live streaming was video production, was movies, was corporate commercial work, was music videos, was anything that I could take my red out and shoot. Let's go do it. And still love that. Still love being a part of that community. But live streaming is that wild bull that I love riding every single day. It's an absolute for me. It's the best.
Yeah, so you mentioned iPhones, and I want to talk about the COVID environment in a little bit, but so for the most part or entirely, you are doing all of your work, at least your video work, on iPhones at the moment?
100% exclusive. How about that? When I dropped that bomb with so many people I've worked with along the way, growing up in the again from the industry that loves the red and loves all the big fancy toys, they definitely have a place. But here comes this Chris Carson maniac in an orange shirt, jumping up and down and screaming that iPhone this, iPhone that. Why don't we just shoot it on an iPhone? And yeah, I made the commitment a little over 2 years ago to be 100% exclusive iPhone. And it's interesting. The client reaction was not what a lot of people would expect. And because at the end of the day, the client really ultimately has one goal. They just they want it to look good, they want it to sound good, and they want to get their message out there. And as long as we're covering those three things, with what I can do and what I know with video production about lighting and how to shape the light, or how to do all these things, you can use any tool. I say all the time, it's not about it's not about having a Ferrari. Everybody drives on the highway. No one, or not many people, have Ferraris. So again, the ultimate punchline is that exclusive iPhone. And since the iPhone 7 have been using it 100% and haven't looked back. It's changed absolutely everything for how we do things.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about, did you ever have, and you kind of hit on it, but what was, if you ever had an interesting reaction from your clients, like, okay, you come to a shoot, and I know, again, I've followed your work for quite some time, and you used to, when we could travel last year and previous years, you talked a lot about just having your mobile kit, and you're able to fit all of your equipment for your multicam streams into one suitcase, and that became kind of the way of life for you. But early on, or was there ever a time when you showed up to a shoot with one suitcase and somebody was like, "That's it"?
Every time. And that's not an exaggeration. Every single time, it's the clients are always like, "Yeah, we always actually make the joke on set of, Chris, when's the trucks getting here with all the big cameras?" Because when you aren't carrying a camera that's huge, that weighs 30 pounds, and now you switch to this, I mean, this is unbelievable. I can fit, in a regular size backpack, you can fit 40 of these in it, right? So, and what's great about these, there's so many things, all day battery life, while you're using the camera functionality, and it's, of course, like you're using Switcher Studio here, of course, the camera feeds can be wireless. So you're able to take, what was once all this giant stuff and shrink it down to bite size. I talk about things all the time, like lights. When we look at like the giant LED panels, LEDs changed everything for the world when they rolled out for video production. But now looking at this, things like Litra Pros, holy smokes, they change everything. So now we can carry 4, 5, 6, 8 of these inside an airplane carry-on with all their stands, batteries, you name it, everything we need for any production, all in a single case. We shot with a Fortune 100 company recently, and prior to COVID, and walking into the place, they're like, do you need help getting anything else? Get the rest of your equipment? It's like, nope, this is it. And it was it. And they were just blown away by the quality. They were blown away by the form factor, and they were, more than anything, blown away by the ability to turn all of it around. because it no longer took, months to get the videos back. We were able to quite literally have them back like, all right, and cut. All right, cool. Let me just airdrop that to you. And then that was it, the completed video. That's unbelievable that we're able to do that now with all of this great tech.
Yeah, I want to hit on a couple of things there. So, you mentioned the all day battery life on the iPhones now, and that made me think of the work you've done on your blog and your website. You talk about your command center, and that has evolved. I think, what are you on, command center 10?
13.
13. Okay. Wow. So you're not
Yeah.
just, you didn't just go from, traditional video production using the red behind you, then making the jump to iPhones. You're continuing to evolve, continuing to get more efficient, and instead of, I think you're always trying to look at, like you mentioned earlier, just how you can be more effective. And so talk about that a little bit. I mean, you haven't just evolved to using just iPhones. I mean, you're constantly reassessing and evolving, this mobile production style.
Yeah, and it all started with failure. And I think that's what a lot of people lose sight of when they look at, it's like, Chris, you've got an amazing team now. You've got a company that we've got clients literally. We're now international, and we're doing events literally all over the place, and budgets that I've only dreamed of, like as a startup, as an entrepreneur, and but the road to get there, that's what I think a lot of people lose sight of. There's a tremendous amount of failure, and even still, like even today, like even some of the stuff we do, we learn quite often. With every single event we do, we learn, and it's not that to say that they go wrong or whatever else, but it's failure is where it all started. And we would go out, I'd go out and shoot all day, when it was just me. Um, and something would happen. Maybe some frame drops would happen. The Wi-Fi would drop out, or the internet. We'd lose the stream, or whatever. I mean, there's a million things that can go wrong. And it's like, well, how can we make this better? That was something I always brought to my Red and my Steadicam. And that's actually, to go back to that question, that's how SteadiReadi was born. Because on set, on a movie or a commercial or whatever, it always took like, these Steadicam operators. Let's get the Steadicam guy in here. Now they've got to shut down production for the next 45 minutes so we can put the camera on the Steadicam and balance it, and then maybe an hour later we can start shooting again. Well, no, that SteadiReadi was born because give me 5 minutes or less. The directors would ask me all the time, how long is this going to take? Should we go grab lunch? They're like, no, just give me 5 minutes. Because I knew my craft. I knew it so well, had everything finessed so good that I could just toss the camera on, do my da-da-da-da, and guess what? SteadiReadi. I would yell out on set, and then people were like, all right, let's get to work. Like, here we go. SteadiReadi was born there. And so efficiency, though, was also based in failure. And so, I'd go out and shoot all day, fail, and then stay up all night trying to figure out how to do it better. Just, whether it be flying through Google, 400 pages deep, Amazon, 8 million pages deep, looking for better pieces, to accomplish the goal. And, it's amazing. I've got an unbelievable depot of equipment that I no longer use, and all these little knickknacks and gadgets and whatever else that I've picked up along the way. And those are all the evolution of Command Center nothing to Command Center 13. And when you look at, things like when I started posting Command Center 2, you look at the difference, the evolution of how complex it is. To give you a punchline, where I started, it took, for the average live stream show, maybe it was an hour-long show, it would take me an hour and a half to set up. Now, I can give me 10 minutes or less, and we can be ready to rock, and I can include all of the professional, all of the high-quality microphones, all of the lighting, multiple cameras, everything in 10 minutes or less. And that is, man, that's you just can't beat that.
And I heard you do a stream about this the other day, and that piece of it right there affects, the kind of work you can bring in, the amount of work you can do, because you aren't spending so much time on setup. And even to go further than that, you mentioned earlier, you are shooting, and then that same day, your clients are getting edits, promos, photos, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a much longer conversation.
Absolutely.
So for those of you out there that are curious about what the depth of that is, the punchline is go check out SteadiReadi's Facebook page. You can go back and watch the previous episode where I dive headfirst into not only the financials of like what do we charge, like how do we charge, what's the algorithm there, but more importantly, like what's the service offering, and how do we accomplish what we do. And so it's a great place. It's a great little building blocks for other companies out there to just figure out how to start, basically. But getting back to getting back to the idea of how to charge, or what's the service offering, or what's the efficiency of it. Yeah, we walk in, we do a thing, and quite literally, maybe we would live stream this right now with the technology of the iPad, with the technology of things like Switcher Studio. We could literally either instantly or within minutes be able to hand that over to the client and say, here's the video done. And so as an example, my model was, we would walk into a business, instead of going in with a client and being able to go do a video production shoot, which would take an entire day or multiple days for a 30-second commercial or whatever. We would go in, I would schedule 1 hour blocks and not 1 second longer than that. And people just didn't understand that in the beginning, but I would be able to go in, set up in 10 minutes. We were rolling camera, live streaming. They would do their show, and then I would pack it all up. While I was packing it up, we would talk about the next show, and then within an hour, I'd be back in the car headed to the next shoot. And I would book, 10 of those a day. And so I would just be ping-ponging, just bam, 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 back and forth. And of course, that's where efficiency comes in, and so many other things. But we were able to take all of those recorded, those live streams that were also recorded, and of course, cut promos, tonight, or, whatever else. I'd be driving down the highway, uploading files from the previous shoot, so my editing team could edit while I'm at the next shoot. And so, it's, Chris, well, what is the ultimate level of efficiency there? Well, I'll give you one example. We shot a thing in Texas last year, a 2-day event, and we live streamed 40 streams, 40 videos, 40 interviews in that period. And while the previous one was, or while we were on to the next one, I was uploading the files of the previous one in real time, or rather in just one interview behind. And my editor, single editor, was working on, the promos. We were able to not only deliver all of the videos from the interviews to the client before the end of the event, but we were also able to deliver all 43 promos edited from the event as well, 7 minutes before the event ended. And so, of course, the punchline is that when you look at the level of efficiency there, we delivered, 83 videos essentially in 2 days. I'll give you one better. Here recently, we shot some interviews, remote and whatever else, but looking at what the client needed out of those interviews that we did, they needed 77 videos back. And what's interesting is now I have a team of 2 editors that work at night while we shoot during the day, that's one of the secrets there for you. But we were able to overnight turn around all 77 videos to the client, come the next morning, they had their inbox full, and they were happy. I mean, that's a testament to the ultimate level of efficiency. Now, I would also dive into, everyone's favorite question to follow that up with. It was, all right, Chris, how much are you charging per video? And what does that look like, and all these things. And of course, there's always an algorithm, right? But what I would argue about any time you want to look at money, please go back and consider this. Why are you doing what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, for me, when I discovered live streaming, and I discovered Switcher Studio, and I discovered using and other tools like it, and using iPhones as cameras and all of this, it enabled me to go back to my why. It enabled me to say, oh my God, I can finally do what I love and enable people's voices and their stories to be heard at a much, much lower price point, but in fact, one that they can actually afford. And now all we have to do is figure out how to scale it. And that's, of course, again, where speed comes in. And so when, instead of, doing one shoot a day, now we're doing, I don't know, 10 shoots a day or more sometimes. We're doing events, multi-day events, multiple times a day. I mean, it's just crazy at how efficient it is. But again, go back to your why and ask yourself, what is this all for? And then set your pricing from there. And then, of course, just know that you don't have to work for peanuts the rest of your life, but the foundation you're laying will be the one that slingshots you for everything that's to follow. Because if anything else, relationships is what this game is all about. And setting working based on the idea of fulfilling my why, or my purpose, my mission, again, has our relationships with our clients are unbelievable. And again, looking at what we did last year, just to give you a frame of reference for, like, all right, Chris, you're just blowing smoke, yada yada. Looking at what we were able to do last year and looking at what we do now, we're talking a 10x difference, literally a 10x difference in our pricing and most importantly, our value. We're not just doing, a simple live stream anymore. We're doing so much more and bringing so much more value to these people, that, of course, demands a higher fee. But, and I'll finish it with this. I know I go on forever, but there's so many layers to this.
Right.
But when you look at again the pricing structure, everything is about value. Most of our clients, whatever our fee is, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, because they don't actually pay for it. They don't actually, they may be cutting the check to us, but as far as like if it was $10 or $10 million, we're going to find another way for them to pull that money in from other sponsors or companies or whatever, what have you, ticket sales, whatever it is, to cover that cost because of the value we're providing. And if you want to learn more about that, I mean, just seriously go check out the SteadiReadi Facebook page and check out our live streams, our two most recent shows, as of literally the end of November 2020. We, my business partner and I, sit down and literally go through our business model and talk about the value we provide and how these people are reaping the reward from working with us. It's unbelievable.
Well, kudos, Chris, to you and your company for the innovation you've been able to go through, and the success you've seen over the last couple of years, and you touched on it a little bit, and I know I want to make sure we get to this. So obviously COVID has wreaked havoc on all industries for the most part, production and video and streaming being one of those for sure. We've seen professional sports change the way they do things. concerts. I mean, everything, news,
Mhm.
virtual interviews are becoming the norm. So, but you've also kind of pivoted a little bit since COVID. Um, Talk about kind of how COVID has, or what that's meant for your business, and kind of maybe even some doors it's opened up for you guys.
It is a really good time to be in live streaming. There is no doubt about it. There's no question. This is the best time to do what we do. Literally, I remember in the early days, I would beg and plead with clients to, come on, you've got to try it. Go out and just tell your why, speak your truth, and do it consistently on Facebook Live and the other platforms. And by doing this and taking time and investing in your audience and your company, your business, um, you're going to start seeing the benefit of that. And so many people are like, yeah, they tried it for a little while and then dropped off and whatever else. They didn't quite see the value of live video. It only took a pandemic for people to realize on a worldwide level of the value that live video offers. And so, ta-da, here we are, our last full event prior to the shutdown before we fired back up in September. Our last in-person event was the beginning of March, right when they started, when all the states started shutting down. Was that the day one of that event? It was a 2-day event, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And it's interesting. We were already equipped to do this. We were already building websites for events to live stream into, and for the entire event to be driven, through and on that platform. We were already, doing live streaming and video production and promos and turning those around overnight. We were already doing continuing education courses and offering certification on all kinds of things, especially in the dental industry. And the punchline is that really the only thing that ultimately changed for us this year was the amount of people we're working with. I mean, and in multiple industries, it is. So one of my favorite quotes is from Victor Hugo, and he says that no nation, and I'm paraphrasing, no nation or standing army can stop an idea whose time has come. And man, every time I get goosebumps when I say that or I think that, I tear up and everything because I feel that. I 100% resonate with that. And now is the time. Got me? Now is the time for this idea, right? And for me, it's like, it's even more ingrained in my soul because it has been a monster of a ride to get to this point. I'm talking, when I talk about failure, like, I mean, it's this idea, this crazy thing of live streaming has literally almost cost me everything. Everything. I'm not, it's not an exaggeration. And to be standing where we are today and literally be in the black for the first time, and to be able to have clients all over the country and internationally now, and just holy smokes, what a difference it is. And so looking at how all of this has changed, people worldwide are seeing the value. That more than anything, that's the difference of what 2020 is. And here's what's great about the technologies. I said in the beginning of, like, this year has also been incredibly challenging in a lot of ways because, man, if the software developers for all of these live streaming solutions only had 6 more months to say, I feel like something's coming. Something's coming. We should probably buckle down and make a few things a little bit better. I think that all companies across the board would have, done what they needed to do to be ready. But when it happened, basically, well, I'll say it nicely, they had some work to do, and are still doing it. All platforms, everything. Zoom, of course, is the most prominent, that everybody knows that Zoom was kind of rocky there for a little while. But the punchline is that now looking at, this has also shaken them a little bit to for where they need to invest their time and energy and effort into making their service offerings more robust overall. And so looking at the technologies that are literally have come out this fall for all of the new Apple devices, game changing. All of the new M1s, the laptops, and Mac, all of that, game changing. All the new Wi-Fi 6 stuff and 5G, game changing. I mean, it's like holy smokes! Like 2021 is going to be literally the best year ever. Like, I mean, now that it is. I mean, if for live streaming and people, companies like ours, it's going to change everything. And so, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of my thought.
Yeah. So you're not just offering streaming. Now you've jumped into, and like you said, you were doing this before, but we've got to start thinking more like, all right, we're not just going to stream this video to Facebook. What can we create? How can we create a full virtual experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's and again, it's hard to explain without kind of showing you the visuals of it, but it's
Sure.
one of the biggest things that people have a hard time with is interfacing with technology. And Apple is like the go-to for me. When it comes to simplicity and unbelievable power under the hood that you don't even really notice. All you notice is that you can do whatever you need to do and it works great. It's a solid experience, and then you can go on and carry on about your life. It's the same way a light switch works. You walk in, flip it up, you got what you need. All right, cool. Leaving the room, turn it off, and you're done. That's how simple technology has to be. And what's interesting is that so many people that are building online platforms today for events and whatever else forgot about how human beings function. It's like one of my favorite examples is like you go to a lot of platforms, you have to use the back button in order to get back to the home screen or the whatever. Do you walk backwards ever in your life? So if you don't, then get rid of the back button altogether. Figure out a way to make the evolution or the progression of the event happen virtually on this web experience, and figure out a way to be able to navigate people forward only, because that's the way they function. And they always say all the time, keep it simple, stupid, right? That's what the old saying is. Yes.
That's right. That's right. And I know you have a lot of full longer form videos on this topic, and I can link to those on my site and when the podcast and video gets posted. So, Chris, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do want to perhaps end on this one, in that I've noticed, you give a lot away for free. Like I said, I've been following your work for quite some time through a Facebook group that we both belong to through Switcher Studio, and have just seen the tips you put out there on just getting the best Wi-Fi connection, or even what you've done recently on building your business and going so in depth into what you're charging and things like that. At least me, I don't see that a whole lot. So, and maybe this is a lesson for people thinking about starting a business or just getting into the world of working for themselves. How important is that to continue to spread the knowledge to folks in your industry and kind of help each other out?
It's something I've thought a lot about, a lot, and I have gotten heat from so many people that I've worked with along the way, from the movie industry, from the high end production industry. Like, Chris, why would you take everything that you do and know, and that we're doing as well, by the way? Why would you take all of that away? What is your bread and butter? Why would you give that all away for free? And I would charge, and my response is, I charge you with two things. First off, I believe that our legacy has already been told. It's our responsibility to live up to it. Yes. So one of the other things I also learned early on was that one of my favorite books by Gary Vaynerchuk was the Thank You Economy that states take the number one thing you do and give it away for free and see how that changes your life. And when I talk about like living proof, I am literally proof, literal living proof of that statement. It has been absolutely earth shattering, completely changed everything for my life and for my business by doing so. Because when you take a step back, yes, I may be sharing with others how to do what I do, and I may be sharing with my direct competition right here locally. That's fine. So what? They're not going to beat me. Got it? You're not going to be better than me. You're not ever going to surpass me. And by the way, I say that not arrogantly. I say that with confidence because I have invested a lot to become very good at what we do, company wide. And so the punchline is that, ultimately, I think that, here's another one. I think that when we all win, we all win. Whatever that looks like, whatever that is. It's no longer this idea that like, look, I can be the only video production company in the whole world. Man, there's plenty of food out there. Like, just go hunt, just go shopping, just hone your skill, get better, and go start telling and spreading the message to your clients for why they need to share their why on Facebook Live. Again, get out there and start enabling people's truths to be heard, because we are all in this together. It's not about making a dollar, but I promise you, you will make a lot of dollars if you go out there and do it this way. A lot of dollars, maybe not in the beginning, but thereafter, after a little while, you'll get the momentum you need. So that's kind of my belief system for that. And what's also interesting is that it hit me, and I never thought about this prior to like the first year in. When I first started live streaming, and I first started Live with Steady is the show that I had at the time, and now we're doing Steady Live. When I first started with all of this, it was it was like, hi guys, I'm Chris. And it was awful. I couldn't even say my name on camera. Like, it was terrible. And, I even referenced that in the show of like, I even posted my very first Facebook Live that I literally rehearsed in my head and in the shower and getting ready in that morning for 2.5 hours of what I wanted to say. And then when I went live, I was going to be like this 10, 15-minute spiel, and it was a minute and a half. It was awful. But the punchline is, it was there. It existed. It happened, and it enabled me to get out of my own way and just start speaking my truth on Facebook Live. And it, holy smokes, after doing a lot of bad episodes thereafter, telling people how to live stream better and whatever else, I got marginally better, and the audience grew, right? And what's interesting about that audience is we've actually been able to leverage it. Not financially, but scaling. See, what's interesting is that, in some ways, what we were doing became an authority on some level within that community. And when it came time for like, oh, you know what, we've got a gig that we've got to do this other thing, we need somebody to help shoot this one. Well, we just fire up that audience, and who within there, is perfect for this job. So it worked great for us, and scaling, and there's so much more to come from that, as it's just the early days here for that, but it's like, holy smokes. It's great. What else?
Well, no, Chris, that is, I think, a great way to end it. Appreciate you, Chris Carson, for again, just the knowledge you continue to share, and you know, the just positive message you put out into the world. And again, kudos on everything you've accomplished. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. Much appreciated.
Yeah, awesome. Be well. And friends, again, I'm Chris Carson of SteadiReady. Please check out the SteadiReady Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, all of that good stuff. Learn about live streaming. It's all there for free. We're not holding back any details. We share all the links with you. We make $0 on all of it. And the punchline is it's true. We truly do believe when we all win, and that's what it's all about. Thanks, friends.